How you doing there? Welcome back to Babylon Talmud. Today we studying Daf Mem Test, Daf 49 of Masechta BavaMetzia. Friends. Yo, friends, I am so tired. Where am I? What am I doing here? Oh, okay. So we're studying Daf Mem Test. Yeah, what can I tell you about Mem Test? It's like a daf, and then we're only going to get to the Mishnah on Daf Mem Test Mem Beis, which means tomorrow we're going to have a lot of work to do. Tomorrow's going to be a really hard daf also, but it's cool. We're starting tomorrow the sugya of Onah, the sugya of Onah, of overcharging and undercharging. Tomorrow's daf is going to be really hard, I think. It's going to be difficult. But it's cool. BavaMetzia, what a Masechta. Alright, here we go. I got a call in about 45 minutes. Let's see if we could be done by then. I don't know. We'll see. If not, I'll have to finish recording it later. Alright. Lema ketanoi. Wow, Chevra, I am so tired. Wait 1 second. Give me a sec. Alright. Okay. I'm so tired. I'm like just kind of exhausted. I haven't really slept much the last few days. Let's see. But whatever. Who cares, right? Right. What are we talking about? Right. Okay, so we saw machlokes between Rav and Rabbi Yechanan about when you leave a deposit, does the deposit is it kone, or does it is it only considered like you acquired the part that you paid for, or is it the whole thing? Right. So meaning, for example, if you put like a down payment on something, so you don't pay for the whole thing, you only pay for part of it. So can the seller theoretically renege on the other part? Meaning, certainly the part that you paid for, you can't renege, but do we consider like the down payment essentially acquires the whole thing and you just have to then pay the rest of it later? Or does it consider like the down payment only acquires the part that you paid for, and the rest, theoretically, the seller can renege on, no problem. So Rav was of the opinion that the down payment only covers the part that you paid for. Rabbi Yochanan says that the down payment, it's considered like you acquired the whole thing, and you just need to pay the rest, but the seller cannot renege at that point. So now, let's say that it's taka like a machlekes tanoyim. Where are we? Hamalve es chavero al hamashkin. V'nichnas ha'ashmita afal pi she'eino shove ela peleg eino mishamet divrei Shimon ben Gamliel Rabbi Yehuda Anosi Omer imoyam mashkin kenega avo also eino mishamet v'imlav mishamet. Oh, right. So Shmitas Ksafim, right? Right. If Shimon lends $1,000 to Reuven, so then comes Shemitah, or specifically the end of Shemitah. So then, if Reuven has not yet paid back Shimon, the loan is waived. Now, there's like a shtickle kind of exception to that rule, which is, if I understand correctly, if Reuven gave Shimon a collateral. So Shimon lent Reuven $1,000. Reuven gave Shimon a collateral. Well, if Reuven gave Shimon a collateral, so then the loan is not waived. It is it persists. Okay. So the shaila is, what if Reuven gave Shimon a collateral that was only worth $500, half of the value of the loan? So that's the shaila, and we're gonna try and tie this in to the machlokas between Rav and Rabbi Yechanan with regard to a deposit covering the whole loan, or only the part that the equivalent. Okay. So let's say it's machlokes tanoim. Amalves chaveru alamashkin. So Shimon lent $1,000 to Reuven. Reuven gave Shimon a mashkin. V'nichnas ha'shmita, and now it's shmita, and the shaila is the loan waived? Af al pi she'eno shave ela plag or peleg. What's the vote? What do the people vote for? Peleg? So even though the collateral is worth only half of the loan, Shimon lent Reuven $1,000. Reuven in turn gave Shimon a collateral of $500, half the value of the loan. Eino mishamit, it's sufficient, and the loan will persist. It will not be waived at the end of Shemitah because there was a collateral. Divrei Shimon Gamliel's opinion that even though the collateral was not equal to the value of the loan, it does its job and the loan will not be waived, it will persist. Rabbi Yehuda Omer says, Rabbi Shimon Gamliel's son, Im hoyo mashkin kineged halva'oso einu mishamit, v'im lav mishamit. Rabbi Yehuda says, wait, a loan, a collateral is not just like a free pass. It's not just like, I gave a collateral, now, it's not like, because there's a collateral, the loan automatically persists. That collateral needs to be equal to the value of the loan. If Shimon lent Reuven $1,000, so then if Reuven gives Shimon a collateral worth $1,000, so then the loan persists. But if the collateral is not the equivalent of the loan, if it's $500, half the value of the loan, well then the loan is waived. Okay? I hope that I didn't confuse anything. And if I did, I'm sorry. So, fine. Where am I? So, my Einu Mishamit T'Kamer Reb Shimon Gamliel. I hope I didn't skip. Sorry, I'm really tired. The thing is, when I say that I'm really tired, it means like I can't talk straight. It means that like I might confuse things and not realize it. But other than that, like I'm not like falling asleep kind of tired. I'm just like exhausted. Whatever. Fine. Well, he's not falling asleep yet, but I don't think I'm like I'm not in like short-term memory loss situation. You know what I mean? I'm just like so freaking tired. Okay. So where are we? So my Einu Mishamit T'Kamer Reb Shimon Gamliel. Okay. So by the way, so this first sugya that we're learning now, the first part of the Gemara requires us to go slowly as we're doing. After that, it kind of picks up speed. Just FYI, this is like a real sugya, but then after that, it's gonna pick up speed more. Anyways, so when Reb Shimon ben Gamliel says that when Reuven gives Shimon a collateral worth half the value of the loan, well then the loan persists. So what does Reb Shimon Gamliel mean that the loan persists? Well, if you're going to say the equivalent of the collateral, so meaning Shimon lent Reuven $1,000, Reuven gave Shimon a collateral worth $500, and Reb Shimon Gamliel is saying that the loan then persists even after Shemitah. What does it mean persists? If you're saying that it means that it persists, meaning the $500 connected the collateral, right? Reuven gave Shimon a $500 collateral, so the portion of the loan, the $500 of that collateral persists after Shemitah, but the rest, where there's no collateral for, which is not represented by a collateral, but there's no collateral for, so then Shemitah will waive it. But if that's the case, then when Rebbe says that if the collateral is worth less than the value of the loan, so then it accomplishes nothing and the loan is waived, then that means that even the portion equal to the amount of the collateral is going to be waived, right? Meaning we're saying that Shimon lent Reuven $1,000, Reuven gave Shimon a collateral of $500. Rabbi Shimon Gamliel is saying, so those $500, right, that the collateral represents, so those $500 will persist, the rest will be waived. Rebbe disagrees and says, no, it's only going to persist if the collateral is equal to the equivalent of the loan. Otherwise, it's going to be waived, which means that the entire thing is going to be waived. So, Mechlal the Rebbe Yehuda Anosi, Soverlach Pal Ganami Mishamit, that Shemitah then, since the collateral is worth less than the value of the full loan, less than the full value of the loan, so the loan is going to be waived. That means the whole thing is going to be waived. even the part connected the collateral. Then what's the point of the collateral? The assumption is that, the collateral needs to accomplish something. And if you're saying like Rebbe, that since the collateral is less than the value of the loan, so the loan is waived, so what does the collateral accomplish? So Ella Lav Shmamine no must be that my Einu Meshamit Tekam B'Shim Gamliel Einu Meshamit Bechulo my Meshamit Tekam Rabbi Yehuda Nosi Lach Palgo Dilo Nokit Ale Mashkin. So rather it must be that the machlokes is that Rabbi Shimon Gamliel is saying that even though the value of the collateral is half that of the loan, nonetheless, since there is a mashkin, the entire loan persists. Since there is a collateral, even though that collateral is half the value of the loan, it doesn't matter. The loan will persist because there is a collateral. Rabbi Yehuda says no. Rabbi Yehuda Nossi says no. What persists is only as much of the loan as is represented by the collateral. If it's $1,000 loan and $500 collateral, so $500 will persist. The rest of it will be waived. So now that we've established, or we think that we've established, the machlokas between Rabbi Shimon Gamliel and Rebbe with regard to does the $500 collateral persist the entire loan, or only the part of the loan, only the $500 that it's equal to. So let's say that this machlokes between Shimon Gamliel, who says that the $500 represents it persists all 1,000, and that Rebbe who says that the $500 only persists the $500. So let's say that it's taka the machlokes between Rav and Rabbi Yochanan. Rav saying that the collateral only represents what the collateral represents, and Rabbi Yochanan says that the collateral is kona all of it. So, where am I? Uvahaka mifligate. 5 lines into Mem Testament Aleph, and this is the machlokes. The Rabbi Shimon Gamliel Sovar kineged kulo koiner. That Rabbi Shimon Gamliel holds that when you have a collateral or a deposit, it essentially acquires all of it, and therefore the collateral that Reuven gave Shimon, even though it was only half the value of the loan, it works as though it was equal to the entire value of the loan, and the loan will persist. But Rabbi Yehuda Nossi Sofer, as Rabbi Yehuda says, like Rav, Kinegdo hu kone, that the collateral is only going to be kone the amount that it is equal to, like Rav. Lo nisht. My enu meshamit to Amar Reb Shimon Gamliel. No. When Reb Shimon ben Gamliel says that when you have a collateral that is worth less than the value of the loan, Shemitah, so the loan will persist, it only means the portion of the loan equal to that of the collateral, so the $500. So implying that Rabbi Yehuda Nossi then holds that lach palga dunokit oli mashkin nami mishamit. But if that's the case, then that, as we said earlier, then that would mean that Rabbi Yehuda Nossi says that when the collateral is worth less than the value of the loan, so then the loan is waived entirely. The loan is waived entirely. So then what's the value of mashkin dunokit lomale? So what's the point of the collateral? The point of the collateral is just as a reminder, right? So that, Shimon sees that he has this collateral lying around that he got from Reuven. It reminds him, keeps top of mind that there's, don't forget about this loan, don't forget that you're owed money by Reuven. But in terms of Shemitah, since it's worth less than the value of the loan, so then it won't accomplish anything, and the loan will be waived at the end of Shemitah. Okay, that was the hard part of the daf. The rest of it, maybe it would move quicker, but the daf also gets a lot wider now. So, it's a trade-off. It's not as hard per se, but there's more to it. I don't know. Maybe you can hear my voice now. I feel like my voice. I'm so tired. I could fall asleep right now. But again, that's the difference. I could fall asleep, if I wanted to put down my head, but I'm not. It's not like my eyes are closing. I'm just really, really exhausted. I haven't been sleeping. All right. Where am I? Yeah, okay. So let's do it. I think I was going to say, maybe you can hear it in my voice. My voice is getting kind of dry and exhausted. Rav Kahana Yaivu Le Zuze Akisno. So if Kahana, they gave him money, okay, for flax, I guess you for linen. I guess he was linen mongering. So they gave him some money for some linen. Lesofi Yakar Kisno. But then the value of the linen went up. And I guess he hadn't yet given the linen to the people. He had received the money, but he hadn't yet given the linen to them. So the Kahana to Rav, so Rav Kahana comes before Rav. Omar Le, and Rav says to Rav Kahana, B'mai dinkitas zuze avlu. Look, whatever money you've received, you must make good on that. You must deliver equal to the amount of money that you have been paid for, the amount of linen that you have been paid for. But the remainder, the outstanding balance, the outstanding linen, Devarim ninu, is just words. You said that you would give it to them, but they never paid you for it. And words are not a violation of mechusar amana. So yeah, you said that you were going to give them the rest of the linen, but they never paid you for it. And, now the price of linen went up. It's okay. You can renege on that part, and that's totally fine. Did mind that it was stated Dvarim, that when it comes to words, I guess a commitment, it sounds like a verbal commitment. Rav Omer in Boy Mishum Mechusar Amana. Rav says that there's no issue of Mechusar Amana there, of untrustworthiness. Rabbi Yochanan Omer Yesh Bohem Mishum Mechusar Amana, whereas Rabbi Yochanan says that if you don't follow up on your verbal commitments, so then you are not trustworthy. Meis we have a kasha, I believe on Rab. Meis Rabbi Yossi, Rabbi Yehuda Omer, Ma Talmud Lomar Hin Tzedek. Why does the pasuk need to say a righteous hin? A hin is a measurement; it's an amount. V'alo hin b'chlal efa. But after all, the pasuk had already said efa. What does it say? Moznei tzedek, avnei tzedek, efa tzedek, v'hin tzedek. An efa is bigger than a hin. So memele, if you have to have a righteous efa, memele, you have to have a righteous hin. So why are we talking about righteous hins if we already have righteous efas? V'alohin b'chlal efa elo lo maloch, to say to you, she'hein shelchot tzedek v'lav shelchot tzedek ho. That when you say yes, it should be yes. And when you say nisht, it should be nisht. That you have to be a fellow of your word. Yes is yes, and no is no. So therefore, it sounds like, why is Rav saying that you could say one thing, but you don't actually have to honor that commitment? Omer Abaye, says Abaye, Ha'u shelo yidaber echod bepeh ve'echod balev. That when it says, She'ehin shel chot tzedek, v'lav shel chot tzedek, it means that when you say yes, you really mean yes. When you say no, you really mean no. Now, in this case, it's a little bit different, because when Rav Kahana had committed to the linen, he really meant to honor that commitment. Now, in the end, they had only been paid for part of it, and things changed. There was a new reality. The price of linen went up. So if that's the case, it's not a violation of, she'ein shel chot tzedek, because the point is that when you say yes, you mean yes, and he did mean yes. But then subsequently things change. And in that case, if it's just Devarim, so Rav would say that you could renege, and it would not be an issue of Mechusar Amana. Meisvei. We have a kasha. Reb Shimon Omer says, Reb Shimon, Afal Pisha Omru. Maybe I should whisper. No, I don't think I should whisper. Wow, my voice is so dry. I'm really exhausted. But I'm not exhausted where I'm falling asleep, I'm exhausted where I'm just freaking exhausted. My voice is so out. My head is so sleepy. And I feel like I could just whisper and fall asleep. Yeah, like this is really comfortable. Just chilling. Yeah, like this is this is really comfortable right now. I gotta drag myself out. And we gotta babble. Just babble. Just babble. Just babble. Just babble. Shimon Omer says, even though they say that the talis is kona dinner zov, vein dinner zov kona talis, as we know, that it's the peiros, it's the object that you pick it up, and that's what makes the kinyan, not the transfer of money. But nonetheless, they said, Mishapar mi'achador amabul, u'mi'achador afloge, Osili Parea Mimi, Shena Omi Bidiburo, the Eibishter from the flood and from the door of Flaga is going to get you in trouble. And we had also said there that you have to have what does it say over there? It says Vanosim Vanosim Bidvarim Lo Konav Achozerbo Enu Achacham Noche Emenu, and that somebody who does not honor his verbal commitments. So we see that it is not good to ignore your verbal commitments. Where am I? Tanai. So we say, you know what? It's taka machlokas tanoim. We want to say that it's taka machlokas tanoim, whether it's acceptable to be choser on your verbal commitments, because we just saw that you should, in this brisa with the Shimon, that you should not be choser on your verbal commitments. But now we have another brisa, the Tanan that we learned in the Mishnah. There's a maise with the Yechanan ben Masya she'omer levno, that he says to his yingel, go out and find for us workers. Holach, he went out. Excuse me, I'm rubbing my nose. Sorry, Mom. So Holach, he went out, ufasak loim mizoinis. So he went out, and not only did he find workers, he offered them a suda. And then when he comes to his father, Amla, what does his father say? Bini, my son, even if you make for them mamish, the greatest of the greatest sudas that there ever was, lo yatzos yidei chayvascha imoim, you will still not be honoring your commitment to them, because because they're the children, they're the Einiklach of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and because of the Einiklach of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, mamish, they're zoichet to the biggest suda that's even bigger than the biggest suda, and they're zoichet to unlimited quality of sudas. So by offering them a suda, you can't actually ever make good on that commitment. So Ella rather, says his father, Yechanan ben Masya, you're gonna have to limit. You're gonna have to put some limits and better define what kind of a suda you are going to supply. Before they start doing their work, say go and tell them, people, by the way, FYI, when we're talking about a suda, we're talking about bread and beans. And if it enters your mind that verbal commitments, there's an issue of mechusur amana if you do not honor them. How could he have said to his son, "I want you to renege on your offer of I guess a malchus dika suda for a pashut suda"? So how could that be? How could he be choser on his commitment? So it must be that Rabbi Yechanan ben Masya holds that you can be choser on dvarim, to which we say that isn't really a good proof, because shiny awesome, it's different in that case. The workers themselves didn't actually rely upon this little yingle. My time out, obviously they knew that this yingle wasn't paying for the suda, his father was. So Mimele, they knew that, if they're getting a suda, it's going to have to be approved by the father. They didn't really rely on the yingle. If that's the case, well then why did Rabbi Yochanan ben Masya Davka have to tell the son, make sure to break the news before they start working? Even after they started working, they weren't actually expecting to get Kishloim b'Shaiter. So they say no, once they start doing the malacha, then no, of course they're assuming they're going to mamish get a malchus de kesuda. Because they said, clearly, if we're getting started on the work and nobody ever qualified and said, oh no, by the way, you should know, it's just beans and bread. So it must be that the son told his father and his father was cool with it. So by then they are expecting it. And that is why Rabbi Yochanan ben Masya had to tell his yingul, make sure to break the news before they start working. Now did Rabbi Yochanan really say that when it comes to verbal agreements, it would be not honoring a verbal agreement would be an issue of mechusar amana? That a fellow says to his fellow, I'm going to give you a gift, Yachol achzor, he could renege. Yachol pshita, obviously he could renege. Just saying that you're going to give a gift, obviously you can renege, right? It's like the nafkamina between can I go to the bathroom or may I go to the bathroom? Did anybody? I assume that's probably everybody has that experience in every door. Every door probably has that experience. A young fellow needs to can't wait till the end of class, and he asks if he can go to the bathroom, and the teacher has a good time. It's not can, it's may. Ha ha. That was a good one. Okay, Al Kaponim. So where are we? Where are we? Where are we? Yeah, where are we? Yochel achzabo pshita. No, so a fellow tells his fellow that he's going to give him a gift. He's allowed to be choser. Obviously, he can be choser. Never made a kinyan, never did nothing. Obviously, he can be choser, and if he is choser, it's retracted. Sure. So ela mutter lachzor bo. The chiddush is that no, it's permitted. It's 100% okay. Interesting. So it sounds like Rabbi Yochanan is saying that there's no problem with reneging on a verbal commitment. So Amar Papa, so says Papa, look, there's actually a distinction. It depends. It depends on the size of the gift. If it's a small gift, well then you'd have to, don't renege on that, because the person who you're gifting it to is assuming that like, oh wow, this person is like actually giving me this thing. It's expect as if like if he says, I'm going to give you my house. It's like, what? Really? Is he really actually going to give me like it? It's like a little bit. Wait, I'm not actually sure that he really is going to give me his house, but like, I'll give you like I'll give you a piece of pizza. That's very nice of you. So in that case, you shouldn't renege. Makes sense to Amar Babo, Amar B'Yechanan, Yisrael she'Amar leBen Levi, or Yisrael who says to a Levite, Kor Meiser Yesh Lecha Biyadi, I have a core of Meiser for you, right? A Levi eats Meiser, Yisrael does not, Meiser Rishon, or at least he's got to offer it to the Levi, and so he says to the Levi, look, I have Meiser for you. Now, Meiser is not considered like a house, right? It's more considered like something that's believable, that's small. Ben Levi Rashad Asosu Chumas Meiser Amakom Acher. The Levi is able to say, oh, Givaldik, I have other Meiser in other places, I'll use this as my Chumas Meiser. And now that other Meiser is no longer Tevel, and he's going to now eat the other, assuming that he just used this Meiser as Chumas Meiser, that he separated the tent that he needs to separate from his Meiser. So if you say that according to Rabbi Yochanan, for smaller gifts, you can't renege, well, Mishumachi Rasha, that's why the Levi is allowed to say, great, I'll use that as Chumas Meiser. But if we have to be, if we say though, that he can always change his mind and renege, well then it would be problematic for the Levi to use this Meiser for Trumas Meiser. Amai Rashai, why is he allowed to use it for Trumas Meiser? Because if the gifter ends up reneging, well then, if the Levi is assuming that he had separated Trumas Meiser, relying upon that committed Meiser, well then he's going to end up eating Tevel because it isn't actually Meiser because the guy reneges. So rather it must be that he can't renege if it's a smaller gift. To which we say, not necessarily, we can argue that here it's talking about that the Levi actually had picked up the Meiser and then given it back to the Yisrael. And that is why the Yisrael cannot renege anymore, because there's already a kinyan. If that's the case, Ema Seifa, but I'll tell you the continuation, that if the gifter gives it to a different Levi, so the initial Levi, he could be annoyed with the giver, but at the end of the day, that's about it. He could just be annoyed, but if he ended up giving it to somebody else after he said he was going to give it to the first Levi, it is what it is. It works. And if it enters your mind that it's talking about where the Levi had picked it up and given it back to the gifter, well then why are we saying that if the gifter then gives it to a different Levi, well then it belongs to the second Levi and the first Levi is like annoyed, but that's about it. Well, if the first Levi had picked it up and made a kinyan on it, well then came in the mashche mamonius legabe. Well, since that Levi had already picked it up, since the first Levi had already picked it up, it would belong to him. So rather, it must be talking about where the first Levi did not pick it up. And therefore, if he gives it to a second Levi, the first Levi is annoyed, but that's about it. So we see it's talking about where there was no kinyan, and still the Levi can make it Trumas Meiser, because the assumption is that you don't renege on smaller gifts. So there was a certain fellow who gave money for sesame seeds to a sesame monger. A sesame seed monger. Apparently sesame seeds are kidneys. L'sof Iker Sumseme, then the value of sesame seeds went up. Hadru Behu. So the sesame seed monger says, wait, 1 second. Meaning he had only received the deposit, he hasn't received all the payment. Wait, no, is this talking about a deposit? No, not necessarily. Wait, no, this might not be talking about a deposit. This could be talking about just, he gave him money, but then I think he gave him money. But then before he had an opportunity to take the sesame seeds, the value went up, and then the sesame seed monger was like, wait, we don't have any sesame seeds. Shkol Zuzach, take back your money. Lo shakil, the sesame, the sesame eater didn't take back his money. Lo shakil Zuzah, he didn't take the money back. Ignuv, and then in the end the money got stolen. So the Kami de Ravas, now they come before Rava. Now what? Amalei Rava says, look, Kevin the Amrei Loch Shkol Zuzach v'lo shaklis. Look, sesame seed buyer, since the sesame seed monger told you to take your money and you didn't take it, well then sorry, Buster, but the sesame seed monger told you to take your money, you didn't take it, he's not responsible. So Amulei Rabbana, the rabbi said, L'Rava, Mishapara, yeah, but what about Mishapara? He's not, the sesame seed monger can't just renege once he had already received the money for the sesame seeds, right? That's the whole thing in the Mishnah, Mishapara. That once you already received the money, you're in big trouble if you renege. So Amalu Achinami. So Rava says, yeah, those are two separate things. In terms of Misha Para, yeah, he's in big trouble for reneging, sure. But in terms of is he chayiv for the money? No, he told the guy to take back his money, so he should have taken it back. Omer Papi says, or Papi Amli Ravina that said Ravina said to me. Papi says Ravina said to him, Ledidi Amarli, the Ravina said, Hahu Merabanan, a certain rabbi said to him, Ravina, Rav Tvus Shmei, his name is Rav Tvus, Vamila Rav Shmuel Bar Zutra Shmei, some says Rav Shmuel Bar Zutra, the Havu Yaive Le Kol Chalola Da Alma Lo Have Kol Mishani B'Dibure. And this rabbi was so trustworthy that even if you would have given him all the hidden treasures in the world, he would not tell a lie. And listen to what he told me. Bedidi Ava Uvda, I'm the alleged Sumsimi monger. And this, I'll tell you what happened. What happened is not that I had sold sesame and then the price went up and I didn't want to give it to him. That is not what happened. It's a very different story. How Yema Panya de Malay Shab Sahava was Erev Shabbos. Babi Yasivno, and I was sitting in my house, V'osahu Gavro, and a certain fellow came, V'koya Above, and he comes to the door. Amrli, he says to me, Isloch Sum Smei Zabune, do you have sesame seeds to sell? Amrli, lo, I said, Nisht, I don't have sesame seeds. Amrli, Lehavu Anoch Zuze Bipikon Gaboch Tochoshcholi. So he said, okay, fine, but I have this money. Can I leave the money with you for Shabbos? Because it's getting late. I can't have money anymore. Let me leave it here. Amrli, you know what I said to him? Hobeisa Kamoch. Osvinu Bebeisa. Hobeisa Kamoch. Look, my house is open to you. If you want to put him in here, put him in here. You know, my house is open to you. So Osvinu Bebeisa Ve'ignuv. And then this fellow put his money in the house, and then they got stolen. So the Kami to Rava, they came for Rava Amarle, and Rava says, "Kol abeso kamach." That innocent right, since what this rabbi had said was, "My house is open before you." Well, in that case, he's not responsible. He never accepted himself. He never said, "Yes, I will be your shomer." He said, "Look, you want to leave it here? My house is open to you." That's all he said. So he's not chayiv for the theft. Amrilei. So Ravina says, but I said to this rabbi, Amru le Rabbanan le Rava, but what about the fact that they had then said to Rava after he gave his ruling that, what about Mishapara? In this case, there's no Mishapara. Mishapara would be in the initial scenario, where the sesame seed monger, after having received the money, says, you know what, the price went up, I don't want to sell it to you anymore. But this is not the case. It's a case where a guy wanted to leave money over Shabbos, and he said, look, my house is open to you. So what does that have to do with Mishapara? V'amrli, and this rabbi said, Lo hayu dvar me'olam. Yeah, that part's just simply untrue. People said that it happened. That part never happened. There were never any rabbis that went to Rav and said, what about Mishapara? That never happened. What I said happened is what happened. Somebody came right before Shabbos, said, can I leave my money for Shabbos? He said, my house is open to you. It ended up getting stolen. And they said that I was off the hook. Okay, I have about 5 minutes left. You think 5 minutes is enough to finish this daf? I guess we'll find out. Reb Shimon Omer, so Reb Shimon had said that whoever has the money has upper hand. Right? According to the Tanakama, they had said a guy goes to a gold monger. So then, if he gives the money for the gold but hasn't received it yet, so according to Chacham, technically speaking, either one can renege because he hasn't made a kinyan on the gold yet. He hasn't picked it up yet. Reb Shimon said that only the seller, only the gold monger can renege. The buyer is powerless; he can't renege. Tanya, we learn in the Brayso. Reb Shimon says, Reb Shimon, Mosai. When do we say this? Bismancha kesev aperis biyad mocher. When the money and the fruits are still with the fruit monger. Aval kesef biyad mocher. But if the fruit monger has the money, uferis biyad lokeach, and the fruit eater has the fruits, and they made a kinyan meshich on it, well then eno yochol lachzor bo. Well then neither one of them can be choser at that point. Mipnei shekas bo biyodo, because the fruit eater has the money. Biyodo biyad mocher. What do you mean the fruit eater has the money? The fruit monger has the money. And mipnei shedmei kas bo biyodo. No, it's because the value of what he paid for, of his fruits, are in his hands. So, meaning because he made a kinyan mashiach on the fruits, that is why the deal is done. Pshita, that is obvious. That once he did a kinyan mashiach, then the deal is final. So, Omar Rava says, Rava, Acha b'mayo skinon, Kigon she'haiso aliyah shel lokeach muskeres biyad mocher. Here, what are we talking about? We're talking about where the fruit eater was actually the landlord of the fruit monger. The fruit monger's geschäft was in the fruit eater's house. And the fruit eater now comes to buy peiros. Now, of course, though, we had said that giving money for the peiros alone is not enough. Midoraisa, right? According to Reb Shimon, we had said that everybody agrees, even Rish Lakish, who says that it's about the Mashiach, he says that he can't hold like Reb Shimon, because Reb Shimon definitely holds that it's the money that makes the kinyan. It's the money that makes the kinyan midoraisa. However, we were concerned that what if there's a fire? He's not going to, the fruit monger is not going to have any interest in saving it. So therefore, Reb Shimon says, therefore the fruit monger could renege, so that he will then save it if there's a fire, so that, because he could potentially, if it increases in value, he could renege and make more money. Now, Reb Shimon said that that's specifically for the fruit monger, because he's the one who we expect to save it from the fire. Now, the interesting thing is that in this case, though, the fruit eater is his landlord, which means that if there's a fire, like this whole thing about who's going to save it from the fire is not actually an issue, because since the fruit monger is operating out of the fruit buyer's property, the fruit buyer is going to want to save his own property anyways. So of course the fruits are going to get saved anyways. So this isn't a concern about So therefore I might have thought to say that in that scenario, neither one can renege, because right, mida oraisa, money is kona. The only reason why Reb Shimon would say that the fruit monger could renege is because nisvu chitecha b'aliyah, but here it's irrelevant because the fruit buyer is the landlord who would save his fruits anyways. So nisvu chitecha b'aliyah is irrelevant, and therefore I might think that in this case neither of them could renege, because in this case let's rely on the mida oraisa, which is that money is kona, right? So pshita amar Rava acha ma'askinu, here we're talking about kigon she'oisa aliyah shelokeach muskeres biad mocher. That the fruit buyer's property was being rented by the fruit monger. Now, taima mai takinu rabbanon meshicha. How come the rabbi said that even though midoraisa maos konos, but still we say you should be kona b'meshicha? It's because gzeir shamayomar lo nisvu chitecha ba'aliyah, out of the concern for nisvu chitecha ba'aliyah. But acha b'shusei delokeach ninu. But here, the fruit buyer owns the property that is potentially going to be burned down anyways. Enough l'deleka be'ones iutar chumaisila, and if there's a fire that breaks out, he would end up saving it. So the whole concept of nisafu chitecha ba'aliyah is irrelevant here. So maybe we should rely upon the maus kolonos midoraisa and say that neither one of them can renege. So the Chiddush is that no, even in this case, Reb Shimon would say that the fruit monger can renege. Somebody had given money for wine, the Sof Shama, but then he had heard the Kabar the Mitzvah Devei Parzuk Rufila, that then the viceroy wanted that wine. So chances are it's going to go to the viceroy, and he's concerned that he's going to lose his money. So he says, so he wants to renege after he gave the money. So he says to the wine seller, I want to renege. Havli Zuzi, give me back my money. Lo ba'ino chamra, I don't want the wine anymore. The case came before Rav Chizda. Rav Chizda says, just like the seller can renege, so can the buyer. And in this particular case as well, it wouldn't be an issue of mishapara, since the viceroy got involved and the situation got messy, and he can just say, look, just give me my money back, and I don't want to interfere with the viceroy. All right, Cheved, that was I got to run. That was the Mem Tes of Masechta BavaMetzia. Open, peace out.